Hi, I'm Rollie Dimos, and I'm the Internal Auditor for the Assemblies of God. And today, we're going to talk about the 5 steps you need to know to setting up your first budget. When we think of budgets, it's scary, we think of red tape, we think of restrictions, but really, the budget is going to empower you to reach your goals. So the first thing we need to learn is it takes a team. Don't try to do the budget on your own. Involve the key ministry leaders in your church, pastor, board, your executive team, your church treasurer, and some of the ministry directors. Everyone together can help create your budget, because we don't want it to be my budget, but we want it to be our budget. And when everyone works together as a team to help create our budget, we're all going to work together for the same goals. Secondly, remember that your budget follows vision. Remember I said your budget is going to empower you to reach your goals. So pastor, we want this budget to illustrate and to demonstrate your vision for the next upcoming year. So that means you're going to have to communicate that budget, your vision, to the rest of the team members. And as they bring their budgets back to you, you can look at all of those line items and see that they follow your vision. So there's different ways to create your budget. You can use a historical-based budget. You can use a zero-based budget. But more importantly, you want to have those budgets based on your vision. So a historical budget just says, I'm going to take what we spent last year and add 5%. That's not the best way to do it. We like a zero-based budget, which is every line item in the budget is based on that ministry's goals, based on your church goals, based on your church vision. And so you can look at every line on that budget and say, this agrees with our vision. Third, you need to be intentional and thoughtful as you create your budget. There's some common mistakes that many of us make when we create our budget. We start too late. You need to take maybe 2 or 3 months to create your budget. It's not something you do in the last week of December for January. Don't overestimate your income. We want to be generous, and we think that our donors will be generous, but make sure that you're looking at some historical contribution trends to be able to estimate your income for the next year. But similarly, don't underestimate your expenses. We, in the church world, we like to do things 5-star, right? With quality and with excellence. And so that takes money and usually costs a little bit more than you expect. I had a pastor that I worked for, he said, if we're going to do it right, if we're going to take the time to do it, we're going to do it right. And so that takes money. Next, make sure you balance the budget. You may find that you have all of these goals that you want to do, and when you put the cost to all those goals, that's a lot more than your income that you've estimated for the year. Well, you can't just leave your budget that way. We have to balance the budget. That means, pastor, you with your leadership team, you need to look at some of those items that are in the budget and prioritize them. And you might have to cut some things out of your budget. I saw one budget that said, the line item at the very end said, God will provide. And they put in a big number. That's true. We know that God will provide. When God tells us to do something, He's going to provide the funds. But the budget is more of a management tool, and the best practice is to make it balance. So do the hard work up front and cut out some of those items so that your budget balances at the end. Lastly, you need to include an emergency fund in your budget. We think of a budget as a 1-year estimate, but we need to not spend everything that we earn in the year, but we need to save it for maybe the next year. Maybe you've got a building campaign coming up. Maybe you've got a conference that you want to make in the year 2. you need to have a line for reserves or for a rainy day. We also call it an emergency fund. Include that in your budget. Our fourth step to creating a great budget is to release your leaders to execute the budget. Once you have your budget approved, then you can release your leaders to execute the budget. All those line items have been approved by the church leadership. So now as the calendar year progresses, your leaders can spend according to the budget. It won't be necessary to micromanage every purchase because those purchases have already been approved in the budget. And so lastly, we need to monitor the budget and pivot when necessary. The budget helps you reach your goals that you set at the beginning of the year. But during the year, we all know that contributions can ebb and flow, or that projects may get canceled, or that goals change. And so it's necessary to take a look at your budget and maybe make changes. It's okay to make changes to your budget during the year. So if contributions come in lower than estimate, you need to go to the rest of the church leadership and say, we might have to cut a few things out of our budget, or we have to postpone some purchases. But conversely, if contributions have increased during the year, then God has provided, and we can add some more of those wish list items to our budget. If you'll follow these 5 steps to creating your first budget, then your budget will not only be a wonderful management tool, but it's going to help you meet the goals of your ministry.